Hello, welcome back. You are tuned into London Rebels on Pulse 88. We are now joined by the lovely George the Poet. How are you? How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Let's give a little clap then. I'm good, thanks. No one really asked that question, you know.
No,
every time you ask an
man.
artist, how are you? They're just like, yeah, I'm good, I'm good.
It's important. All be in the right space.
Exactly. So who is George the Poet for people that don't know?
I'm a spoken word artist from Northwest London. Been doing this for about 5 years. I do poetry and music.
Nice. For people that don't know, you actually started off as a grime MC back when you were 15.
Yeah.
So how was that? How was the transition from going from 140 BPM to kind of like pulling it back and being kind of a bit more reserved and putting a message across in a different sort of way?
That's a good question. It was natural. It was organic because as a grime MC, we were putting, as me and my guys, we were all putting in a lot of effort in what we were writing and saying. So it's like we're having highly intellectual conversations through these bars.
Right.
So it will only be appreciated more if we just talk it a little clearer.
Right.
That's why it was natural.
So you pulling back, do you feel like your message was received a lot better?
Yeah,
in that way.
Immediately, and the reason I did it is because I went to Cambridge, which is out of my social comfort zone. You feel me?
Yeah.
So I felt like I have to represent myself fairly in this space, and it was received like that. That's when people started calling it poetry, when it was the same thing, just bars.
Just bars. Straight bars.
Straight bars.
Alright, so the next thing I wanted to talk about was, you are obviously George the Poet, but not just George the Poet, you're also kind of in a way an activist. So you work with Barclays Life Skills.
True.
You also do, I think, is it a literacy sort of, I can't remember the name, but...
I'm ambassador for the National Literacy Trust too.
And many other things, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk to us a little bit about that and how you got into that?
So my whole aim through doing poetry was to not only draw my audience's attention to the things that I'm trying to address. For example, life skills is about helping young people transition from education to the world of work, but also trying to map out ways to address these important things, not just, oh yeah, that's important still, but think to yourself like, okay, so what does that mean? What can I do differently? How can I help? Being an ambassador for charities and organizations and initiatives that are doing good work was always part of my plan. So as well as the National Literacy Trust, I've collaborated with the Stephen Lawrence Trust. I'm on the BBC panel for diversity and inclusion. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. That's going to be the bulk of what my career, my lifetime work will be.
Also, since we're on the element of the origin of who George the Poet is, I wanted to ask too, because I remember a time where anyone that knows me well knows I used to do music, and back in the day in Northwest, Bang Radio, and they were a little bit bigger, smaller than they are now. I remember you performed at one of their events.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I remember is you, at this time at least, no one was doing spoken. No one was doing spoken word. No one felt passionate about it. And to be honest, you felt like you were the only one I've even seen doing it. Even to the point where I was confused by it.
Yeah.
I was thinking, how come he's so strong with this?
Yeah.
Yet now we look at where you are. Do you believe that you've influenced the whole? Because now I look around, I see it everywhere. Do you believe you've influenced the whole movement? A movement of people doing that.
I think I played my part, but I can't take sole credit. I wasn't the first person to do it. Sully Breaks was doing it before me, and when I saw his RIP video, that's when I thought, rah, like, there's more scope for this. They're like, he's doing videos. It didn't even occur to me to put myself on YouTube. I was still in uni doing little shows wherever I could, but he was doing it on a bigger scale from me. But I do think I played a little part, and I think when someone does something and their brethren are doing it, their brethren are an even bigger influence than the most famous person doing it.
Yeah.
You know, so it becomes a culture and a movement of its own.
So I wanted to ask, what was it like for you growing up in Northwest London? Your surroundings, your upbringing, and what made you an exception compared to everyone else? And a lot of other people, it hasn't gone down the path that you've gone down.
Same
You made a success of what you're doing.
Yeah, man. Growing up in Northwest, you get a variety of experiences, a variety of cultures as well. There's a big Jamaican community when I was growing up. Now there's a big Somali community. There was also a big Kosovan community, and the community didn't have much money in it. So a lot of young people from our community ended up just in crime, in trouble a lot of the time, and others were doing grime. All of that rhyme. But grime became our expression for all of the, and not just grime, rap as well. Like I feel like Northwest held down UK rap when a lot of people fell off of it for a while. But it wasn't easy. Still, I'm not gonna lie. There was a lot of tensions. Right now, we're broadcasting from Wembley. I had a lot of guys that I used to spit with in Wembley who just aren't really doing that anymore because it wasn't as productive. There wasn't commercial opportunity. We didn't really see any longevity in it. But I was a person who never put all my eggs in one basket, so I went hard with education, and this was out of fear. Do you get me? I saw who was around us and how things could go, and none of them options seemed viable to me. I didn't want to be the biggest shotter. I didn't want to be, you know what I'm saying, a junkie or I'm trying to find the polite words for them, but you know, like addict. I don't want to be an addict to nothing, innit? So out of fear, I'm kind of working like on the education thing, and I didn't know what would work. I didn't know what would bust. All of it bust in the end, but that's fortunate. Not everyone was that fortunate.
Because I've heard a lot of your work, and there's one that I've listened to over and over again was Blame Game. And is that a true story?
Yeah, it's a true story.
Because I mean the story is was you approached, was it an argument?
I was on a bus and some elders were having an argument about who was the greasiest. They were arguing just amongst them. They were clearly brethrens and that. But yeah, like the situation got political quick because like I walked to the top of the bus, I saw them and I weren't gonna back down, and they came up to me and asked me where I was from, and I said raps, and that was political. And we all got into it, boy. It was real rumble on the bus that day. But yeah, one thing, like someone called the police, the bus got locked off, shut down, all of that, and yeah, the police tried to put it on me. Just negative. I even like talking about it no more, but negativity. I got so much negative stories from when I was young, and you've heard it all before in rap as well. But you know, we need to fix it. That fixed my mind to thinking, nah, the situation needs to get fixed. Otherwise, I'm just gonna hate the hood. I won't want nothing to do with it. I'll just be gone, just like everyone else who was successful.
So it's safe to say that you take life experiences, maybe not necessarily all the time something that you've experienced, but something you've witnessed in the hood, like you said, and you channel that into your music and your art. So talk to me about the Search Party, because that's something that you've created a platform for yourself and for other people, for them to be able to talk about social, economic and political change, environmental change, that they can actually, there's like a social hub online, am I right? Or something where they can talk about it?
So it's an app that I've developed. I'm glad you asked about it. The Search Party app will be live next month. It was scheduled for this month, but you know, we're moving things around because the video's really taken off or whatever.
Yeah, but, you can't rush perfection, it's alright, don't worry.
Like that. So the way it works is that my social poems that are about social, economic and environmental change, they're going to be on this app, and you're going to get the lyrics with the annotations as well. But as well as that, you get a directory to all organizations and initiatives that are working on these issues that I've outlined in the poem. So you can listen to the poem, you can take it in, you can be inspired, that's cool. But then there's an action to go with it. And if you're down, it's all laid out for you.
So that's important. You've got along with the what's wrong with me? Along with the Search Party, you've got the poem, and you've also, correct me if I'm wrong, got a book coming out for that as well.
No, the book's been out.
Oh, it's been out. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah, Search Party. It's a collection of poetry. It started me on this thought process of, alright, I could make art for the rest of my life. That's cool. People will rate me. People will feel inspired, but there needs to be a tangible outcome, a social outcome. We need social action plans for this art. If it is directly about affecting society, it's not enough for me to just put it out there and say, yeah, I hope you feel that. Because maybe they do, and what? People are still getting shot down in the street. You understand? People are still getting unable to even articulate, let alone overcome structural inequality and all of the things that put us in place. Even if you're an individual, I've experienced it myself. I was able to create a certain life for myself to an extent, but I don't have enough resources or enough awareness to even start to address the millions of things that are going on in my community that ain't right. You see what I'm saying? So it's not enough to just talk about it. I've created a platform in which we can actually investigate social action.
That's good. And you also said something along the lines of, correct me if I'm wrong, because I really don't want to be out here quoting and getting it wrong, but you said something about it's important that we learn more than what against the enemy. I don't know if I'm wording it properly. Something about learn what the enemy is. I don't know.
I think you're talking about a Martin Luther King quote.
Right.
He said something along the, again, I don't know the exact quote, but it's something like, in order for the world to improve, the people that love peace need to learn to organize as effectively as those who love war.
Right.
Yeah, so it's one thing us sitting down and saying, I can't believe the government's out here trying to do this and they're claiming that it's that, but we really know what their real motives are, and Trump's going to do this and Putin's going to do that, but them are not organised. Do you get me? That's why they're not sitting down just talking and making mixtapes about what they would do if they was in power. They're doing it. You feel me?
No, I do. And I read this is obviously not from your book, it's from, I don't know if you've heard of the author M.K. Asante or something. Yeah, I read a chapter in his book, it's chapter 10 from the post-hip hop something. I'll link it to the thing so people can go and read it. But it's something along the lines of taking 2 sets of notes, and it's basically just talking about being proactive in your learning. So you take the notes, take what they teach you, be in the government and in the school education system, and also take what you teach you. So it's more than just actively soaking in what they're feeding us. It's more about going out of your way and learning more. And when I read that chapter, something in my mind, I sparked, George the Poet talks about that all the time.
Trust me.
That's something that you're a big advocate for, and something that you push in your art. I don't know why I'm stuttering, I'm flustered.
No, you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, but
practical.
Exactly, and proactive in our learning, and that's something that I feel like I don't want to say, but kind of like a modern day messiah sort of like put forward in your message. So was that something that you had to teach yourself? Was there a time where you weren't like that? Yeah,
100%. Like, there was a time where I thought, I was young innit, I thought spitting was enough. Even when I was at MC, I still had social messages. You see what I'm saying? So I was just putting it all. But it's like one day my brother said to me, when I was signed a couple of years ago, my brother said to me, so what's the plan? And I was like, yeah, you know, I'm gonna drop this album and I'm gonna lay it all out. And he was like, okay, lay what out? I was like, you know, the move, innit, like, you know, like we gotta rise up. And he was like, and you think you're the first person that's ever said that. He just wasn't impressed, didn't it? And I love him for that, because I needed to hear that. And it made me feel away, and I thought, it's true. Even if I drop an album and it sells 100 million, yeah, what has it done? Like, will it be able to override government policies that perpetuate some of the most destructive influences on my community? Will it be able to make up for decades of colonial destruction of my homeland? Will it be able to reverse the effects, or some of the industrial forces behind climate change, climate destruction? If it's not going to do that, then is it really the best investment of my time? That's why this year, like, you just hear a lot less from me. If what I'm saying ain't gonna direct your attention to a solution, it's a waste of time. I could do freestyles all day. I could write poems all day. But the only things that I've released this year are directly addressing something that I want us to really change now. So, for example, my poem earlier this year, Rap's Not Music. You see what I'm saying? I've laid out a theory in that. It's a theory. I'm saying rap is a commodity adapted from poverty. It should be owned by the streets, but it's owned by the labels who make our own kind compete. So I'm laying out like the intellectual basis, you understand, for us to now think of rap differently. So if we just think about music and all the culture that we create and realize that it's more than juice, like we say, oh, I got the juice, but it's influence. So what can we do with influence? As long as we've got hundreds of millions, billions of listeners around the world, what are we doing with that? Are we just, because I was listening to the radio earlier today, like some other radio station, like one of the mainstream, like all in your face, and I was thinking, you've got all of these non-urban acts, emulating urban swag, urban sounds, and getting away with it, making a lot of sales. What does it do for the communities that actually birth that sound?
Would you say, like Drake is coming out with that sort of, that control of that reggae kind of vibe? Would you say that they're taking that away from Jamaica, like their sound?
I wouldn't say that because there's
they've got the culture.
It's cool. It's cool to be inspired. I'm inspired. Like I'm inspired a lot by African American culture, but I'm a Londoner. I'm an African Londoner. So am I stealing from them by spitting bars? No, I'm not. Really and truly, Jamaicans started.
They birthed that.
Really. Do you understand? The Jamaican community in New York. So we all borrow from each other and whatever. That's not my issue. But my issue is, what about the communities? Like, are we building our communities? Exactly. And ownership is a key step to that. Yeah.
Now, also, first off, I just want to say this is LDNRBS here. I'm telling you, I'm the passion in this room. I'm genuinely feeling everything George Poet is saying right now. I really do. And you touched on labels 2 seconds ago. I wanted to read this out to you too. Well, here we go. The label came and claimed the aim to change the game, but once I signed, everything remained the same.
Yeah.
Now that's a piece from something you put out earlier this year about leaving your label.
No Man is an Island, yeah.
Which I thought possibly could have been one of the best forms of art put out from leaving a label. Where I felt like anyone that could have saw that would have thought, okay, this shows how talented you are again. Now, tell us about that whole story and how it came about in terms of labels and George the Poet.
Alright, so first of all I must say, big up to Island Records. We had great successes together, and the team really worked hard with me, and I have the utmost respect for everyone. This isn't intended to be disrespectful, 100. But when I signed, when I signed I wasn't trying to get signed. I just graduated 5 weeks before. I could have done anything. You feel me? So they engaged me with a pitch. They said, we believe in your message. No, like that. We believe in your message.
They always do, don't it?
We want to support your message, and this is what everyone around me is saying. George, everyone we've been here before. It is what it is. You should see through them, whatever. And I was like, nah. It's too early in my career to just be ruling out the opportunity to reach masses. So that was my interest. I was like, whether or not they genuinely believe in what I'm saying, undeniably they have access to a lot more people. So through our collaboration, we will be able to elevate what I'm saying to a higher plane. It didn't go like that. I think because what I was doing was so new, I was met with resistance with some of my most forward-thinking ideas. Some of my better ideas weren't really embraced by them like that. So,
because funny you say that. Sorry, funny you say that, because when you were making the Chicken and Egg EP, you were with Island.
Yeah.
Am I right? So for me, I didn't feel like, no disrespect again to Island Records or whatever, I didn't feel like they had marketed that enough. I didn't see that enough. I saw that more through me following you directly.
Right.
That's where I saw all the kind of promotion for it, but I didn't really see it across other platforms, really, if I'm honest.
I wanted to know how come there isn't any videos for
So Chicken and Egg was really the nail in the coffin for me. I made the Chicken and the Egg in
great EP, by the way.
Thank you very much.
Mother, Baby Father, classic.
Thank you.
I mean that.
Appreciate it. Thank you, man. So I wrote the Chicken and the Egg while I was in uni. Like, I started writing it while I was in uni. I didn't realise I was writing a mixtape. And it's funny, Jay, you asked about J. Cole's new album. And it just, as I was walking down here, I was listening to J. Cole's new thing, and I remembered that J. Cole's song, Lost Ones, inspired me to collect all these poems and put them in an EP.
Amazing.
J. Cole inspired that.
Dreamville.
Like that. So, when I made the Chicken and the Egg, I was gassed. I knew it was the one. And it gave me the opportunity to do everything that I wanted to do. My plan was to release it as a film, like Lemonade. Literally Lemonade. Release it as a film and then broadcast this film in mother and baby units across the country.
Wow.
Because it's about, you know, the cycle of premature parenthood.
Wow.
And I wanted to then have a discussion nationwide about some of the governmental support that we can push for young parents, and also some of the cultural changes we need in our relationships in order to, like, just a thinking moment about the cycle of the chicken and the egg that we can get into too easily. So that was the plan. I said to the label, this is what I wanted to do. Yeah. I gave them the EP. They said, cool, it'll be out in 2 weeks. They pushed it back for 10 months. In that time, they just gave me a lot of stories where I was being pushed. Yet, they were able to push my first single, 1212. Now, I made 1212 in the interim after I'd wrapped the chicken and the egg. It was supposed to be for Carnival. Yeah, so I'd finished Chicken and Egg this December 2013. Around May 2014, I made 1212. Didn't expect them to, like, get that excited about it. It was a much more straightforward piece of music than the Chicken and the Egg, so they gravitated towards that. And then the whole thing became, let's make George a pop star. Then later in that year, I did my first live show as a signed act, and it went really well. And then I supported Maverick Sabre on tour. People were giving me mad reviews. So basically, the label got distracted. They didn't like the Chicken and the Egg. Let's not say the label. The president of the label didn't like the Chicken and the Egg, which he later told me, right? But this wasn't communicated to me before. It's only after the live show, after all I was getting these reviews, after I supported Maverick Sabre on tour, big up Mav. At the end of the year, I was nominated for a Brit Award. You know what I mean? I was on the BBC Sound Poll shortlist.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you, thank you.
Sick.
So, and that was all because of the EP. Because the EP got critical acclaim.
Definitely.
Do you see what I'm saying? But and that's when I got apologies at the end of that year. And you know, the MD and the president of the label took me out, and they were like, sorry, we ignored the EP. It's not gonna happen again. Next year, the same thing happened.
Right.
So at one point, he was trying to say he was gonna push my album back. I said,
no.
I think we should call it a day. Which he was surprised by, because it wasn't usually when people say that it's a dispute over money or ownership of music. I was like, no.
Creative control, really.
Yeah, keep the money. Don't worry about it. Let's just call it a day. And all respect to him, he didn't resist that. He was like, alright, cool. Don't worry about that. So my plan was always that the issues that I'm able to address in my art will allow me to push on and will allow me to gain an audience. Don't worry about all of that, you know, pop music or trying to get mad views. Don't worry. That's not what people are going to remember on their deathbed. Do you understand?
Yeah, no, I do.
You understand what I mean?
I believe you performed at the Royal Albert Hall as well for the Queen and was it the Reels?
Yeah. There was I think the time you're talking about was the Responsible Business Awards in 2014. Prince Charles's charity, Business in the Community, asked me to write a poem about sustainable business, which I've done for them before as well. And Prince Charles, Prince Harry, Prince William, they were all there. And we just maintain professional relationships.
I have a question too, which goes back to the last one too. I was wondering, do you believe that it's conversations I have all the time, but do you believe that these labels have the same understanding of what real art is as a whole? Because when I listen to Chicken and the Egg, there's certain songs, like I just said before, Baby Mother and Baby Father, that I know certain people from certain areas, they can really take themselves to that. They've gone through that, they've lived through it, they've gone through pain that has related to that song, and they can really see themselves in that situation. Now, I find it hard to think that someone would listen to it and not connect to it. Maybe because they don't understand, but how do you feel like they digest this?
See what I call it? It's called the logic of capital. Yeah, it's not about individuals. It's about the logic of a corporation. Yeah, corporations are there to make money. All right. There are certain logical things it will do in order to make money. So it will repeat. Like if something seems to work, it will try and standardize and replicate that process. Okay. So that's logical. Do you get me? Now, what they're less likely to do is take a risk, because that would be illogical. Yeah. In terms of the aim of making money. Just making money alone, but the problem with that is there's a lot of things that go around the generation of capital. know what I'm saying, making money. There are a lot of other things. It's like, if something is artistic, you have to know how to draw it out, how to explain, how to translate it to an audience. You've got to know who you're talking to as well, like you said, the particular people that it will resonate with and all of that. Now, what happens with a label is that they got like targets, they got numbers that they're looking at, and logically they're going to be like, so how can we ensure, I do this now because I'm independent. I look at my numbers, I'm like, okay, how can I ensure I'm in that place by 2017, 2018? I have to project. I have to use I've got to be a grown-up. And that's all they're doing. They're just trying to make careful decisions about sustaining their business. And that's understandable.
So then would you say anyone that is very talented and believes in their art, would you say this isn't the place for you?
I would say it's not the only option for you. If you can be bothered to draw up a business plan and think outside the box and stay up late nights and really make it work, that's a better option. I would recommend that you do that because, like, it's gonna happen anyway. When I was in the label, I was working mad hard. I wasn't making money from them. I had to hustle myself. But guess what? I'm splitting that money with them anyway. Because contractually, they have their hand in my pocket now. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I was working hard anyway, and I kept thinking to myself, so why do they own the masters? Why do they own my stuff if I'm hustling either way?
You know, in your song Raps Not Music, you talk about visiting prison. What was it like entering prison and seeing the prison community and speaking to prisoners themselves?
It's crazy because it's one of my favourite things to do. It's like, I felt so much love and hope. Do you get me? Like, you've got an audience of people that, like, a lot of what I say is intense, and sometimes it goes over people's heads or it's just too much. No one wants to hear that right now, George. Feel me? So it's nice to be able to interact with people who are in intense headspace anyway, because they're taking everything.
Because I know someone was telling me a story about when they were inside prison. A friend of mine, he was inside, and he said that he was in segregation. He described everything to me. In segregation, he didn't have a TV. All he had was a mattress and a hard pillow and radio. And the radio ran out of batteries because they apparently switch off the electricity after a certain time. And the first thing he said they heard of yours was one extra live lounge. Your live lounge session.
I need, yeah,
that's it. I need. And he heard a next door neighbour of his playing the song. And the next door neighbour actually turned off the song, and he was shouting out the window, turn that back on. So he turned it back on, and everyone that's on that block could hear this. And then the next day when everyone was out, was asking who's that, everyone was doing their research. And it was just crazy.
That's mad. That's what I'm saying, that happens in prison. Where else would that happen?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got love for that.
Definitely. One thing that also, after this break too, we're going to get into more. We're going to get into his influences. We're going to get into George the Poet as a person. What's next? So LDNRBS will be back in literally 5 minutes.